Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Friday. It's Daryl here. It is bright and freaking early. It's 4 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. I'm running a little late, but to be truthful, I wasn't even planning. I wasn't dead set. I was pretty sure I wasn't even going to be able to make a video this morning. The Eastern States Exposition, the Big E, opens today in Massachusetts, right over the border from me here in Connecticut. And it's going to be a busy weekend for my artwork. And I wasn't dead set on making a video. So I decided to go through, I've been up for a couple hours now, and I decided to go through the news feed. And there was just a plethora of stories. These are stories that got my heart pounding, that gets my adrenaline pumping, my hand. I get so inspired, I guess motivated, inspired, angry, that I have to make a video. All right, I came across a story. Marjorie Taylor Greene actually, listen to this, actually kicked a Mexican American podcaster, a reporter. The video, I'll find the video and put it down below. And told her to go to another country. Yeah. So there's some stories today, and it just gets more bizarre. But then I came across this story, and it really made me think. The Little Mermaid. The new Disney's Little Mermaid just came out. A trailer for it just came out. And if I understand this right, I'll have the links down below. The trailer got over 1 million views, but it got 1.5 million dislikes. There's people out there freaking out, losing their minds. Why? Because Haley Bailey, not Haley Berry, not Halle Berry, Haley Berry, 23-year-old African American actress, is playing the Little Mermaid. And oh my God, it's erasure. Us Caucasians are being erased. We can't have this. This isn't what Hans Christian Andersen wanted. Yeah. Oh, and then it gets even better. It gets even better. Matt Walsh, whoever this loser is, he claims that because of science, that mermaids wouldn't be that color, wouldn't have that color skin because of science. He's talking about a mythological creature, and using science to prove his point. Yeah, so I had to talk about this morning. All right, so I started thinking about this, and I did a quick search. Matt Walsh talked about. He said, look, this is the typical thing you hear from Trumpers. I'm not racist. He says he wouldn't have a problem, with all different colored people being in films like this, if it was equal, and we weren't being replaced. We meaning his color skin. He says, like back in the 90s. Because back in I think he meant to say the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, all the way back until just recently So I did a search of 90s Disney films. I came across, out of a couple dozen, I'll have the link down below, all the 90s Disney films. Mulan and Pocahontas. Pocahontas just irritates me, man. I don't know if it's because of Donald Trump and him using that term in a derogatory manner. The way she's portrayed in this, it just ticks me off, being part Native American. So I found like two that didn't feature Caucasian people, like Tarzan. I don't know. There's dozens of them. The links will be down below. So I started thinking about growing up, and you guys know. I've always, I don't know why, but I've always had a very strong sense of empathy. And I remember thinking about this. I remember watching like the Brady Bunch, and I knew that all people didn't look like this. Or any of the other, Happy Days, Laverne and Shirley, Mork and Mindy, even Friends. New York, I've been in New York lots of times. New York City does not look like it does on Friends. But, that's ridiculous. You could walk down... say you walk down one block in New York City at rush hour, and you'll hear about 15 different languages and see about 15 different nationalities represented. 2 dozen. New York City does not. New York, the New York City in the Friends is something out of a dream or a nightmare. I don't know, whichever way you look at it. So I started thinking, I didn't watch a lot of Disney films growing up, but I had comic books. And I had action figures. They weren't dolls. I had G.I. Joe, right? And then I was sitting here thinking this morning, and I swear I remember having I remember my parents buying me this. It was one of the only black action figures, Action Jackson. I have a hard time saying that. Must be my new teeth. Anyway, right? And I remember, and I feel bad even saying this, but it was a Jungle Hut for Action Jackson. Looking back, I kind of see the racism in that. A Jungle Hut for the only black action figure. Seriously? And I remember having this. I remember it had like little hidden doors. I love that part of it. The idea of like hiding spaces and escape routes and stuff like that. And I was sitting here this morning, and I was like, did I really remember that right? That first of all, was there an African American action figure with a Jungle Hut? And, am I remember that correctly? Did my parents, because I remember playing with this. So I looked it up. I'm going to put this on my community page. And when I saw this, I got that feeling of nostalgia. I hadn't seen this whole setup with the action and the Jungle Hut. I hadn't seen this in 40 something years, 45, 50 years. I hadn't seen this, and this is the first time I laid eyes on it, and it was everything I remembered. With the plank going up, I got this pang of nostalgia. Then I started thinking about comic books because Matt Walsh is convinced that back in the before the liberal culture wars. Since 2016, since Trump, that things were kind of even in his mind. So I started thinking about comic books, and I have some old comic books. I grabbed a handful. So let's see, where's... I see an awful lot of Caucasian people. Oh. But... wait, I looked a little deeper. There is one comic book that had I have two comic books. One of these I bought. This one, one of the only ones that featured black characters in a comic book, and they're playing basketball. Go figure. The Harlem Globetrotters. Yeah, and it gets worse. Wait until you see this one. This is the one I bought here. Let me take it out of its protective covering. This is from the 30s or 40s. I can't remember which. Honestly, the first time I looked at this, I didn't think this was a human being. I'm not being facetious. I'm not being sarcastic or anything. I really thought that this was a simian. I didn't think it was... the way it's portrayed, this person is portrayed, I truly believed it wasn't a person. And then I looked closer and I was like, oh my God, that's his little helper. Yeah. And this is for the people that says since slavery, there hasn't been any racism. Really? So, Matt Walsh, before this, before these culture wars and the liberals, the progressives, the crazy liberals taking over the country, everything was fine. No. And I think about empathy. Look, I'm going to have a video down below of little black girls. My heart exploded when I saw this picture, when I saw this video of little black girls, one after the other, watching the first time they see a black Little Mermaid. The expression on their faces, man, I'm getting goosebumps right now. I think it's all worth it. It's worth the 1.5 million dislikes and angry comments from all the angry Trump fans out there. It's worth every bit of it to see the joy. She's just like me, you hear one little girl say. Oh man, you tell me that's a bad thing. One black Little Mermaid comes out and we're all being erased. They're taking over. I actually heard a Trump supporter actually told me that. They're taking over. They're everywhere. They're on TV, in the movies. They're all over the place. They're trying to take over. Kamala Harris. Oh, man. So, on the community page, will be the actual picture. I own this when I was like 8 or 9 years old. Action Jackson. My parents were Democrats back then. My father passed away in 75, but yeah, they were Democrats. Anyway, the pictures of Action Jackson and the Jungle Hut will be on my community page, and the links will be right down below, so you can see Matt Walsh. Oh, wait a minute, I forgot. Matt Walsh. Yeah, so he says that the Little Mermaid should be translucent, right? So he kind of using science to justify the Caucasian Little Mermaid. A mermaid never existed. Like, is he going to talk about unicorns next? And he skips over the whole ocean with whales. I'm not a fisherman, but trout, whales, sea bass, whatever. I don't remember them. He goes all the way down to the very, the Mariana Trench, and he says that, if you're talking science, then the Little Mermaid should be translucent so you could see her skull. Her skin would be invisible. And I started thinking, it's all those fish being pulled out, like on the Most Dangerous Catch and all that stuff. There's no translucent fish there. They all have dark skin, as a matter of fact. So Matt Walsh, you're a freaking idiot. Get with it, man, and stop twisting things. You're not being erased. Deal with it. Deal with an African American Little Mermaid, and look at the joy that it brings. A good over 13% of over 12% of the country is African American. Look at the joy that it brings to those little girls. You guys have a good Friday.